Ahoy! The Halloween event, the Nightveil event, is around the corner, and there are some very interesting bits of information about the gear, as well as some potential other things that are not mentioned in the announcement yet, that I wanted to talk about. We'll talk about the announcement as well, but I want to start with some other stuff that is related to the event that could be important. So the first thing that you can see right here is the 675 gear score items. These are already on New World Database and wdb.info. And what we can see here is that these weapons have the primary attribute of whatever that weapon uses, as well as flame attunement and refreshing move. And this is the case for all of these weapons, with the exception of the life staff, which gets bless and refreshing move instead. That in itself is already very, very strong. The third perk here is random, and these are craftable fairly cheaply, but they are locked to 675, so that makes sense in that context, since these can be crafted using only the old cooldown materials as well as a pattern which you can get from the shop for the event. So if you have any of those old resources still laying around, this would be a good purpose for them. These crafts are bind on pickup, so they are more of a catch-up mechanic for players that don't have 700 gear yet, that are progressing slower. The event will help out here. Though keep in mind that the difference between 675 gear score and 700 gear score in terms of overall impact on the damage is actually not that massive. You lose some attribute points, so that's worth keeping in mind. The stats are slightly lower. But if you have a very good 700 gear score weapon already, you won't care about this. But if you have a bad one that just is good in terms of gear score, then a 675 weapon with 3 good perks could be better. This is for most situations except M3s, because in mutation level 3 you want to have as close to 700 gear score as possible. You want to have at least 695, so the weapon would massively cut that down. Wouldn't be ideal there. Also, what's particularly noteworthy are the Nightveil shields. These always come with flame conditioning and refreshing move, and then whatever the perk of that corresponding shield is. Now, shields don't count into gear score first of all, so it doesn't really matter what the gear score they're at. And also, these perks are normally not on these shields. Flame conditioning can be on shields, of course, but refreshing move is typically reserved to kite shields. There's already an outlier in the game, or probably multiple, in the form of Motherworld's Wisher's Coin, which is therefore a very effective one, but especially the tower shield here is a very interesting option. This could potentially get changed before live, by the way. Keep in mind, these are files that were data mined during the PTR, so this could be adjusted. But as it stands, this would allow you to run a refreshing move tower shield without having to put that onto your weapon, and then you could have other perks on your weapon instead, for tanking specifically, that could be more useful, or even for something like a flail build. This could be nice if you're running a tower shield with that. You could have rev move on your shield instead of your flail. So a lot of flexibility there, maybe for some builds more interesting than others, but generally something worth keeping in mind. If the recipe stays the same, I would definitely recommend getting a set of these shields, just in case you ever need them. You can skip the kite shield because that doesn't have illegal perks. Those are just the legendary patterns. There are also still green patterns, and these are weird. Because if you look at the item here, the gear score is 600 to 675, and you can see the same perks here. We see strength, we see attunement, we see refreshing move, and we see the random perk. Once again, the purple version of the life staff here also has blessed and refreshing move. But if we go down here to the crafting recipe, then you can see that this is the green version, the green pattern. And if we go on this pattern, then you can also see that we can use prismatic materials here, which should increase the gear score further. Now, I could imagine multiple scenarios here. It's possible that these locked perks here aren't actually both locked, and that's the bugged part essentially, and you cannot actually craft 2 guaranteed perks on this, or maybe you can't lock a third, maybe you have to roll the third one random, but either way, it might be that that's something that might cause issues. Or it could be that these are actually locked to 675, and even if you use all the prismatic materials, you wouldn't be able to get a 700 craft. If, however, you are able to craft this at 700 gear score with sufficient prismatic materials, this would essentially be equal to a golden scarab roll if you are planning to lock refreshing move and attunement on your weapon, which is not a bad choice for some weapons. The third perk that you'd be rolling for here would primarily be vicious, and the chance to get that would actually be fairly high because of the perks that are not in the pool here. Other perks like Enchanted, for example, or Rogue have a comparatively low chance, so it is likely going to be vicious in most cases, but it's definitely an interesting roll option if it works like this. The perk bucket seems to be the same for other weapons too, with vicious always being massively above everything else. And currently the life staff for some reason also contains Vicious, which should be exclusive with Blessed, but I feel like they might fix that out. They fixed it out with patterns in the past. Otherwise the life staff would not be worth rolling in that way. While this isn't necessarily better than some of the upgrades you can do with chromatic seals on the Gypsum kill now, this is probably going to be a lot cheaper overall, so it could be useful at least for specific cases. But there's more. There's also something in the augment section, thanks to Changer7 on my Patreon Discord, who pointed this out to me. You can find this in-game. If you go on your character at the bottom, you can find the augments, that's where all the XP buffs are. And at the very bottom, there's Witch's Broom, with Fly My Pretty attached to it, which makes me think we'll be able to fly to some degree. Now, I don't expect them to actually let us fly around, though that would be incredibly cool, or at least if we can fly, then I feel like there would be some sort of height limitation. But I'd rather think that this is likely an emote that just makes you hover above the ground. Maybe even something that's like the mounts. Maybe you can just kind of use that as a mount skin and you're just riding around in a broom instead of your normal mount. But something along those lines. I think it's going to be like some funny hover thing and not an actual flight. Though that would be hilarious too if it was like a temporary thing. I have no idea how we'll be able to get it, but considering it's called Witch's Broom, it strongly suggests that it's somehow tied to the Halloween event. Moon on the New World Database Discord also found some other patterns, the Grim Hills Hexed set, which is a heavy set with health, fire harnessing, and a relatively high chance to roll refreshing. This seems to either be locked at 650, and heavy plus fire harnessing is a pretty, very niche build, I would say, maybe like flamethrower build or something. But it does look unique, it does look interesting, so it's more for transmog I feel than for the actual stats on it. As you can see from the official announcement here, the event itself isn't far away. It'll start on the 18th of October until November 14th. A new addition will be Halloween costumes. You can turn into Captain Thorpe, Adiana, a Nubian Reaver, or a Lost Monarch. Now, there isn't really an explanation here on how exactly these work, like how long you stay in this costume form, if you can fight in this costume form, if this is just a regular skin or something else. It seems like it's more than just a skin, or rather different from a skin. I think it's a full outfit you put on. But yeah, it's not really a full explanation here, only that these can be obtained for the duration of the event from town centerpieces and Balfasu. Also, them stating that they can be obtained during the event doesn't really clarify what happens after the event, if you can no longer use them if you've obtained them during the event, or if you can. So yeah, we'll find out more once the event drops in that regard. You can also go trick or treating, saying once you're in costume, search the town for hidden treat baskets. These have a chance to contain new Balfasu armor pieces with a 10% chance. Again, new pieces here, we can't find any information about that yet, but I guess they might be new skins. And also the chance for 2 Nightveil tokens up to 3 times daily, and a new item, which is Candy, which is a time-limited consumable that comes in 4 flavors. By the way, in this screenshot we can see some of the new head pieces that you will be able to get. The different characters are wearing some of them. When it comes to Balfasu himself, the open world boss will also be back. It doesn't seem like there's anything changed about him based on what we're hearing here. The level of him is going to be 66, so it should be fairly easy. And you can get the new armor pieces up to 5 times daily, and costumes up to 3 times daily, as well as Balfasu's Ichor, which is used to buy or craft other things. When you complete the whole Halloween quest line, you will be able to get the Nightveil Halloween cache, or Nightveil Hallow cache rather, which gives you 5 Nightveil tokens, 2 random Nightveil Hallow weapon patterns, and you also get access to the Nightveil Sentinel section of the shop. As usual, you can dump your Ichor into the cauldron, and in return you get caches with 7 to 30 Nightveil tokens, 1 random Nightveil Hallow weapon pattern, a coin bag, and 1 white gypsum. The next part here is a bit confusing. We have the new event shop rewards, but some of these seem to be cash shop rewards, whilst others seem to be from the actual in-game shop, so I'm gonna show you them real quick. For example, if we go to the basket of treats here, that seems to be a cash shop item, even though it's listed there in the same shop. We have the Hexed canopy, we have Balfasu's offering, another housing item. There's actually quite a few housing items in here that you can see with the summoning circle, which seems very cool, but again, very much seems like a cash shop item. We have the Throne of the Hollow, but then we have the masks that I showed you earlier, the Crone Visage here, we have the Druid's headdress, and the Necromancer's crown, as well as some more I think that we cannot find yet. And those don't have the cash shop label, so those actually seem to be from the event shop, so I think things are kind of mixed together here, and I'm not sure which one's where. But there are also new emotes here, Tremble and Fear and Possessed Walk. And then obviously the updated Nightveil Halloween patterns that we already talked about. We also have various returning rewards from the last year. So at least on the cosmetic side, this event seems to be worth doing. When it comes to the loot, it depends a lot on how exactly the upgrading or crafting will work. So we'll have to find about that once the event actually drops. But it's around the corner, so it won't be long. If you're interested in more New World news and info, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell so we get notified when I post my next video. Also, a quick update to yesterday's video, I think this is 2 days ago now, but Blooddrinker seems to have been nerfed since the PTR version. Unfortunately, I was unable to test this myself because it just isn't dropping for me. So other people have checked this now, and they have confirmed to me that it does no longer heal from dots or persistent AoE. So that unfortunately makes the ring significantly worse than it was before. I've updated the title and the pinned comment and everything, but I wanted to say it here as well because some people probably missed that. So yeah, farm at your own risk, I guess. It's probably not going to be that great of a ring anymore. There are other options that we'll talk about in the next days. If you'd like to support me further and get early trading tips, farming tips, or just tips for your gear in general in return, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who do exactly that. And thank you for watching. Sloth out.